Shea Gilgeous-Alexander with clutch points. Remember in the third quarter, there was a play where you got the ball at the elbow, took a one-dribble jumper from the free throw line over Nemhard. When they're trying to be as physical and trying to wear you down as much as they are those looks something maybe you guys have to explore more to get you more in your spots, one dribble pull up over the smaller defender?
For sure. There's a variety of ways to attack any defense, any coverage. I think the trick is keeping them off balance and sprinkling a good amount of everything in there. Try not to be predictable, especially when you play them 6-7 times in a row. Trying to keep them off balance as best as possible. And I feel like we had a good mixture, a good flow tonight.
Tim McMahon, ESPN, it seemed like every touch was tough for you for the first 3.5 quarters. You get to 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, you guys are trailing, seasons on the line. What opened up? What allowed you to finish the way that you did?
I just tried to be aggressive. Like you said, I knew what it would have looked like if we lost tonight. And I didn't want to go out not swinging. I didn't want to go out not doing everything I could do in my power and my control to try to win the game. The guys deserve that much from me. The coaching staff deserve that much from me. And I just tried to be aggressive, but also just let the game come to me, not try to force anything too crazy. And I guess it paid off.
Back right.
Shai, I was asking Coach Daigneault about just your demeanor out in games, especially when you said you knew what this game meant, how much was on the line here. But he says, you never know based on how you look, your face. You could be having dinner on a Wednesday. What is it inside you that your expression never changes, your demeanor doesn't change much even in these moments?
Yeah, I think I just try to get lost in competing, lost in trying to figure out what I can do to help this basketball team win on any given possession. That's what I try to get wrapped up in. That's what I try to completely focus on. Now, it's a little bit tough at times, given the situation and what's at stake, but that's what I try to wrap my head around for the most part.
First row.
Hey, sir. Joel Lorenzi with the Oklahomans. You guys hadn't won a fourth quarter until tonight. What have you sort of learned over the course of the series to be able to withstand the quarter and I guess second part? Cambridge was just saying that as you guys spilled off the court, there was a sense of relief. Did you sort of feel that? And what was behind that?
Winning any quarter for us looks like us getting stops. That's first and foremost. We do that, we give ourselves a chance to score easier baskets, play faster. But when we don't, it's harder. Just naturally, it's hard to take the ball out, their defense gets set, and then try to score over set defense. And if you're playing this late in the season, you have a pretty good set defense. So it's going to be hard if you don't get stops. And it came a little late tonight, but we strung together enough to get a W. And then what was your second question? Not so much relief. Personally, I just much rather win than lose. But I still feel like we have so much work to do. We're halfway there, obviously, but we're still so far from the finish line. I'm so focused on the next opportunity and trying to take advantage of that.
First row on the left.
Shai, you don't get a lot of catch-and-shoot threes compared to a lot of other NBA players, but you had a massive one there on the right side in that little two-man game with Dub. Just tell me what's gone into your work on even some of the smallest aspects of the game, the things that you might not get a ton of, but that are showing up here, obviously, in crunch time basketball.
Yeah, I think I work on a lot of things. I try to be the most well-rounded basketball player that I can be. And then I just try to, be aggressive and try not to be predictable out there and try to take what the defense gives me. And my work all season, all summer, allows me to be aggressive in those moments and be confident. And that's what that was.
Third row, Vinny.
Shai, Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. Teams down 2-1 have produced some great performances in recent history. Giannis in Milwaukee, Steph a couple of years ago against Boston. When it's 3:52 left, do you sense the game is in the balance? I can make sort of my stamp on this game here? Not necessarily in history, but just do you sense the moment?
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. Winning, especially this time of the season, it comes down to the moments. It's going to come down to late game. Every team is good. It's barely going to be a blowout. And it comes down to the moments and who's willing to make winning plays on both ends of the floor. But yeah, I relish those moments, love the moments, good or bad. When I was a kid shooting on my driveway, I'd count down the clock for those moments, and now I get to live it. So it's a blessing, it's fun, and I relish it.
Fourth row on the left.
Daniel Belvia. So you and Dub went to that two-man game late in the game. Seemed like you guys made the right decisions every single time. Can you just talk about the benefits on getting to that two-man game, getting those mismatches with Dub specifically?
Yeah, we've worked on that over the course of the last couple of years. Both of us can do multiple things with the basketball: shoot, pass, handle. And we try to just play off our instincts and play off each other, be aggressive, to make the right basketball play. And if we do so, we usually end up with a pretty good shot because of the players we are. But yeah, we've worked on that over the course of time, and it showed up big tonight for sure.
Second row on the left, Anthony.
Yeah, despite the win, Mark was talking about how, the Pacers in some ways have found some solutions, against you guys that you guys need to solve. I'm just curious what you think they are doing well and what you feel like, as this series gets deeper, you guys need to solve.
Yeah, they're winning the small battles. They're winning the physicality. They're winning the aggressiveness battles. They're winning the 50-50 plays. Now we strung together enough tonight in a short amount of time to come out with a W. But if we want to do what we ultimately set our minds out to do, we got to take care of those things and throw the first punch. But yeah, they're definitely, for the most part of tonight, they were winning those battles, and that's why they had control of the game.
Last row on the left.
Adeshina Koiki, a lot of sports talk. Congratulations. Jalen Williams, when he was talking about Alex Caruso, said that he can become what your team needs in any sort of situation. For the time that Alex, has been teammates with you, how would you describe his adaptability for playing whatever role your team may need and does need to win games? And would you describe it as kind of a super ability?
Yeah, absolutely. He's a winner. To put it all into one word, he does whatever it takes on any given night, whether it's making shots, whether it's deflections, whether it's a steal, whether it's a block, whether it's a rebound. He does whatever it takes every night. I've said this before, but he has a championship ring for a reason. It's no coincidence. He knows what it takes. He put the work in, and he's proving it every night. But yeah, he's a big-time performer, big-time teammate, big-time winner. If you want to win basketball games, you have a guy like that on your team, and we're lucky to have him.
Fourth row on the right, Dan.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. Mark, when he was up here, credited Lou Dort with setting an unbelievable tone defensively in the fourth quarter. At the time when you guys are trying to claw back, when everything's kind of getting haywire, what did Lou do to get you guys sort of settled down, but then also put that, frenzy into them on the defensive end of the floor?
Yeah, he was himself. He was pressuring. He was making life difficult for them to get into offense. But he was physical on ball. He was disruptive. He was who he's been all season. I think that's the biggest thing. Like the more and the faster that we can just be who we've been all season in our identity, the better off we'll be. But yeah, he was really good in that situation. He was a catalyst for our comeback for sure.
Last question, Barry.
Yeah, Barry Trammell, Tulsa World. Shai, you had a great closing 3-4 minutes, but early in the game, J-Dub seemed to take a lot of the load. How much does it help and make it easier on you when you got a guy like that even if they're trying to bottle you up, a guy that can produce and sort of carry the offense for a while?
Yeah, he was special tonight. He's been really good the last couple of nights. It's impressive to see his growth and his ability at such a young age on this stage. But yeah, it's what makes us a good team. Like, it's more than just me, way more than just me. he can carry the load. He can be the second fiddle. He can just play defense. He can guard your five. Like there's so many things he can do on a basketball court. I think that's why he's having the year he's having. But yeah, he was amazing tonight and makes life easier not only for myself but for the rest of the group for sure.
Dub, you just seem to be, a massive offensive engine tonight for the team, just given the amount of pressure that they were trying to put on Shai and the way they were trying to bog down your normal rhythm. How much have you learned over the course of the last few years about kind of the mode and the tempo that you need to have there when you've got your opportunities like that?
Just trying to match their physicality and force throughout the game. Just being aggressive. Just try and find my spots and get better each and every game. And tonight was just one of those things. I saw some stuff where I could be a little more aggressive early, and that's what I just try to do. But again, it's just reading what my team does and just trying to play off them a little bit too.
First row, Jenny.
Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. Obviously, a lot of guys had to play well for this game to be pulled off by you guys. But Alex, offense early, defense late, and with such a young team in a precarious position, I'm curious just what you felt like the biggest role he had tonight was for you guys.
What makes Alex very good is that he's able to figure out what we need and be that. Makes big shots, and then obviously defense speaks for itself, but he's just really smart, so he's kind of like our fill-in. Like, he does a really good job of just seeing what the game needs and then doing it at 100%, which is hard to do since he's like 100. So, yeah, he's just like he's just our glue, on that end of the floor. And then defensively, he's been special, and, he'll continue to be that for sure.
First row right here.
Joel Lorenzi with the Oklahoma. Jalen, at 3:52, that timeout, you guys are down 3. That's sort of the part where you either seize the game or your season's probably on the line. Yeah. What do you remember from that timeout, and what sort of unfolded late from your point of view?
Did we have the ball?
That was when Lou fouled Neesmith.
Oh, yeah. When went into that timeout? Honestly, in the timeout, we were just, obviously we had a play that we were going to run, but outside of that, it was just more about trying to stack stops. In 3 minutes, a lot of time. I think there's like 3:52 on the clock at that point in time, so there's still a lot of possessions left and a lot of times where, like you said, like our season's kind of on the line, and you don't want them to get easy looks and make them work for everything at the end, and everything up until that point didn't matter, so it was just about trying to score, and then really it was about getting stops.
First row on the left, Tim.
Tim McMahon, ESPN. You guys now are 22-12 in games that you trail by at least 10 points this season, which is the best any team has done like the 30 years. They can look that stat up. Why do you guys why have you been able to have so much success when things go haywire for you at some point in games?
Well, I don't know how fun of a stat that is to be down 10 all the time, but just resolve. The games are like 10 points, and this applies to them as well. Like you see like game 1 when they go on that big run towards the end, 10 is not a ton of points in the like grand scheme of a game. So that's kind of how we try and look at it. And yeah, it's not as many possessions as it may seem. And I think if you start to panic, and like I said, credit to them, they do a good job of not doing it too. But when you start to panic, that's when you start to lose part of the game. So we try and double down on our foundation of defense and offense and just focus on one possession at a time. And wherever the cards fall after that is where they fall. But you don't ever want to, start giving them easy stuff or like falling apart at the seams. You try and lock in defensively as a team and just kind of stack stops together.
Second row, middle, Barry.
Yeah, Barry Trammell, Tulsa World. Jalen, you had a great year, All-Star, third-team All-NBA, all that stuff. But do you feel like, particularly in these finals, you've elevated your game? It looks like you're taking more responsibility and producing. Do you feel like you've elevated your game in these finals?
Yeah, I mean, it forces you to play at a higher pace, a higher performance. And I think my biggest thing is just stepping into the moment, success or fail and just kind of living with the results. I put a lot of work into my game, so I just go out there and play. And I just don't ever want to play a game and I look back and I wasn't aggressive or I was like afraid to do a move or, you know, whatever the case may be. So that's how I look at it. And then just what the earlier part of your question was just like all the stuff I did in the beginning of the season doesn't matter to me. Like we're treating this really like a new season. So that's how I look at it.
Third row, Vinny.
Hey, Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. You mentioned it a couple of questions ago that your season was on the line tonight. When you're in the fourth quarter and the momentum hasn't been going your way and you guys have just been fighting through it, what does that say about your team's collective maturity to grind this type of win out?
Just didn't quit. I think we haven't really had to show it a lot this year just with like the success we had in the regular season, but we've had a lot of like ups and downs during the playoffs. And we've just learned through those experiences, and that's something Mark is really big on us to like. Every game you should be able to learn, and then the next game you should be able to apply something and get better at it, and that's what we're trying to do every time.
Fourth row, last question on the right.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. Chet has talked a little bit about feeling like he's gotten sped up at times in this series, like he's had to sort of find his range in the physicality. 15 rebounds tonight, holding up on those switches late. What did you see from him as you tried to put this game away?
Special player. Special players do special things, and he's really good. Especially me and him have always talked about like just coming into the NBA together. It's just always been like find something that you can do to impact the game, and that makes you more of a special player. And we try not to be one-dimensional, and shots fluctuate. Everybody's going to shoot bad, from Steph Curry to me to, you know, you name it. Like you're going to have bad shooting nights, but there's so many things that you can do in a basketball game to affect the game, and he understands that. And like I said, the more that we're able to learn from each game and each experience, it makes you a better player, whether you know it or not.
Hey, Chet, Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. You guys found yourselves down 7 going into the fourth, and I mean, obviously you can still win at 3-1 down, but just talk us through the fourth, and then also could you also talk a little bit about your the switches that you found yourself on a lot of guards and did a great job in the fourth against those guys.
We just got some big-time players that make big-time plays. I think Shai's shots were huge, and those are loud and obvious, and everybody sees them. But we had guys make plays that were, you could say, invisible, that, you know, led to a lot of good things happening for us. So that's a great team effort right there, great team win, and we gotta keep it going.
First row right here.
Joel Lorenzi with the Oklahoma. Chet, I want to ask more specifically about the switches on Halliburton. Obviously, he's trying to put you on an island there late. What were you thinking in those moments, and sort of what did it take to sort of slow him down?
I mean, I'd just given up 2 drives right before that, so just trying to kind of learn from those and play him better in those instances. You know, I feel like I got a good contest. He was still able to get it off, and, you know, he shoots a high arcing shot, so, like, the whole time it's in the air, you're just, you know, a lot's going through your mind. But, you know, I'm just glad we were able to get those stops and close out the game.
First row all the way to the left.
Chet, I'm sure your whole basketball life, you know, there's been so much focus on your height. Did tonight you feel like your quickness impacted the game? You know, not just the defensive end, but all those putbacks, the second chances. It just seemed like you were first to the ball.
I feel like a little bit of it was just trying to have a intention of making winning plays, and those plays were kind of what it presented themselves. You know, I found myself in situations where I had to try and get stops for us to win the game, and then also, you know, try and, you know, make winning plays for us no matter what they look like. And you know, if the ball bounces the other direction on some of those shots, you know, we're not talking about that. So there's a little bit of that too, but you know, I guess I had a knack for being in the right spot tonight.
Fourth row to the right, Dan.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. When Mark was up here, he credited Lou Dort for setting a defensive tone in the fourth quarter, and he called, I think it was Alex Caruso, a competitive monster. What did you guys get from them and from, you know, their veteran leadership, their tone setting in the fourth?
You know, that's what I was talking about initially up here, we had a lot of guys make winning plays that can kind of be invisible to the untrained eye. It's not showing up necessarily in the stat sheet. It's not like a highlight that's going to be played over and over. It's not one single instance, but Lou and all the other guys climbing up in the ball, and really playing some hard-nosed defense. Not only sets the tone for us and all the other guys guarding, but it also kind of sets the tone for the other team. Just making things tough, and that was huge for us tonight.
Second row.
Joe Masato, the Oklahoman. Chet, Shai scored 15 of the last 16 in this one. Aside from his shot making, what stands out about maybe his demeanor or composure in big moments like this?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that, but that's crazy. That's impressive. We've seen it before from him. We know that that's the type of player he is. But it's still impressive. That's very impressive. I'm sure that's going to be a very small category of players that he's going to put himself in or has put himself in with a finish to the game like that. But as much as I am impressed, I'm not surprised.
Third row on the right.
Chet, Rohan Nadkarni, NBC News. To your right, over here. When you guys went down 10 in the third quarter, the arena's getting really loud. Probably the highest pressure situation you guys have faced so far this season. What was going through your mind when you guys were facing that deficit, and how did you feel like you guys were able to weather that storm?
I can't speak for where everybody's mind was at, but I was just kind of thinking about, how to make individual plays that could put us in a better situation, not try to get a home run or make it all happen at once. I feel like we had some instances in the second quarter where, and the intentions were right. Everybody's playing super aggressive. Everybody really wants it, but we were trying to hit some home runs in the second quarter, myself included. And, I feel like in the third quarter and the fourth quarter especially, we really got to what we needed to get to when we got to what we needed to get to when we needed to get to it, and it was good for us.
Last row in the middle.
Chet right here. Jake Nissy from the Daily Mail. Mark mentioned earlier how difficult this game was. You're a team that won 68 games in the regular season. How much can you kind of learn about your team and this group on a night when it's not working that well and when you guys really have to dig deep?
I wouldn't say we learned anything about each other. We've been in tough situations before, and every single time we've come together. That doesn't mean that, we got to win the game that night, when we did see adversity. But no matter what happens, good or bad, pretty or ugly, we're always going to stick together. We're going to win together. We're going to lose together. We're going to have great moments together. We're going to fail together. No matter what happens, we're going to do it together. So I don't really see that changing ever.
Masato, the Oklahoman. Alex, Shai was terrific down the stretch in this one. Aside from the shot making, what do you just see from his demeanor and just he seems so stoic, even in big moments like this?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know if it was a preseason game or if it's, game 4 of the NBA Finals down 2-1 with him. And that's, why we have such a good mentality as a group. That's why we are able to find success in adversity, because no matter what's going on, you look at him and he's the same. And underneath that, stoic personality or look on the court is a deep-rooted competitiveness. And that is sprinkled throughout the whole team. So, I much more often than not, I've seen him come through, and I have come to expect it. And I'll hype him up and get him to the point, but he never blinks. He doesn't shy away from the moment.
Second row, Barry.
Yeah, Barry Trammell, Tulsa World. Alex, nothing seemed to come easy to you guys for most of the game. Your defense and Shai sort of lifted you at the end, but early it looked like Jalen Williams was sort of keeping you in it offensively. What have you seen of him both tonight and in this series and just down the stretch of the playoffs in terms? He's a great player, but it seems like he's taking on more and more of a role.
Yeah, I mean our young guys want to be great, man. Like they really do. They want to be great. And Chet's had games in the playoffs where I think he hasn't played up to his potential in his eyes, and then he comes out and he answers. And I don't think Dub played his best game last game. I don't think he would say that either. I kind of just expected him to come out and answer the call, and he did it early. Started getting downhill, made a couple shots, but even more than that, But being good on the defensive end, coming up with rebounds late that we needed. There's a reason he's an All-NBA player, an All-Star. I think he's 23, if that's correct. I mean, he's in a phenomenal talent, and these guys, to be able to do it without a lot of experience and without being in that moment before, like this is their first NBA Finals, down 2-1 on the road, down 10 at one point in the game, and just answering, throwing punches like that can't get overlooked. Like that's an impressive feat.
First row here on the right.
Joel Lorenzi with the Oklahoma. AC at 3:52 in the fourth, you guys are down 3. That's sort of your season is then and there. You sort of have to seize it. Then what do you see from that point on? What are you thinking and feeling in that timeout and sort of what's being said?
Yeah, I mean, the way that this place erupts when they go on runs or hit shots, you have to stay present and realize what the actual time and score of the game is. I think I don't remember the play right before that, but I remember they're a little excited. I think somebody was shooting free throws, right? So we just, when he came to the bench and we were looking at it, and it's like, it was a 1-possession game. Even if he makes it, it's a 2-possession game with almost 4 minutes to play. Like, there's a lot of possessions left in this game. We never wavered, never thought, we might lose this game. Like, we were concentrated on trying to win it, on trying to solve the puzzle, figure out a way to make plays down the stretch to win the game. And that's just been our focus, through the whole playoffs, obviously. But, it started from the whole season. Just an extreme belief in each other to make plays and find a way to win.
Back left.
Adeshina Koiki, a lot of sports talk. Alex, congratulations. You've gained a cult hero status to a lot of NBA fans with your style of play, your appearance, your headband. But these 2 games and going back to your time in Los Angeles, you've been like a superhero playing these big games. I don't know how much you're into the superhero Marvel DC genre, but is there any superhero that you either kind of identify with, and what makes you play big in these sorts of games?
For the superhero reference, we'll just do Robin, because that seems to be the only one that I can probably, make some similarities to, because I got better players around me that are doing more. But, I want to win. I don't care if it's pick up in September before training camp. I don't care if it's game 45, 50 before All-Star break. If it's game 4 of the finals and you're down 2-1, like, I want to win. And that's what I'm focused on. And I think over my career, my abilities have gotten better through some work ethic and through a little bit of confidence and understanding the moment and having success in the moment, but really just fighting through failures. I don't think I played my best game, in game 3. I don't think I was my mentality and my focus wasn't sharp enough for being in the NBA Finals to my liking. So I wanted to make sure that I came out here and I made sure that I had a concentrated effort to play as hard as I could and to make, as many plays to help the team win. And that just comes down to really just wanting to win, being super competitive. And that's why my career is the way it is. That's why I have had success. That's why I'm still in the NBA. It's why I'm here talking to you right now.
Back row middle.
Yeah, John Hauser from The Athletic. Mark mentioned in the huddles coming down the stretch that Jay Will was a guy who had a voice in those huddles, and I'm just wondering what types of things he's saying and what allows a younger guy who wasn't really playing to have that kind of voice in a team's huddle at this stage.
Yeah, it's been great to see the growth of our team, 1 through 17 through the season. And, for certain guys, it's different. It's maybe being a better defender, maybe it's being more confident in your shot. But Jay Will has a very, very unique ability to be vocal. And, that's a God-given ability, something that comes to him naturally that, I think he's seen, maybe a little bit through me and definitely through Kenrich Williams of, speaking up when there's a time when guys need it, when maybe the energy's bad and we just went on a 5-0 or 0-5 run and the other team, forced us to call a timeout. He has a great ability to lead, and I think he's learning that in as a young player to have that ability to be vocal and be confident in yourself and confident enough that the guys are going to listen to you. It's a great skill, and it's something that he's been working on, and I don't think he even knows that he's been getting better at it, but he has.
Third row on the right.
Alex, Rohan Nadkarni, NBC News. I believe you had 20 points tonight. When did you realize you were going to maybe need to do a little bit more offensively than you normally do? And, you were hitting some tough shots and a lot of one-on-one plays. How much confidence do you have in those moments and what you can do offensively?
Yeah, each series presents a different challenge and presents a different puzzle to be figured out. And the way that Indiana's playing, it's leaving opportunities for, supplemental offense for other guys. And that was part of what I spoke about earlier with Game 3. I don't think I was aggressive enough. I think I made a couple bad reads on the perimeter. I don't think I tested the paint enough. I just didn't feel like I was doing the same amount of work that I did in Game 1 and 2. Where I found success and we found success as a team. So just being ready to be a basketball player. A lot of times during my career, it's been guard the best guy, spot up on the wing or set pick and rolls and get to the dunker. And this series and this playoffs really, teams are forcing me to try and score the ball. And that's something that I've been working on for the last 3-4 years of my off season. Have been long off seasons. I haven't been in the playoffs, so I've had a lot of time to work and prepare and get to the point to where I knew this was going to be the scout. Take away the best players on their team and make the guys beat you. So just being confident in myself and being confident in the work that I've put in and recognizing opportunities.
Last question, fourth row on the right.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. You were talking about in the context of Jay Will, learning how to be vocal, how to be comfortable using that. When did that start for you? When did you get to a place where you felt like you could be that voice for the rest of your teammates?
Yeah, I think each level of basketball that I've been at, I've been able to kind of manipulate that and mold that into something else. Like in high school, I was the best player on my team. It was easy. By the time I got to my senior year of college, I was the best player on my team, one of the best players on my team. So it was natural to be a leadership role. And then we get into professional basketball. It's a different dynamic, right? I've had many years of working on that and seeing older players, better players, Hall of Fame players, coaches be able to communicate with people on a different level depending on who you are, get a message across. And, some of that was credited with, watching those older guys and how they operate and seeing that communication works and communication is necessary for success. And that you can decipher a game through communication, through the margins of the game. So it's like I said with Jay Will, it comes a little natural to me. I want to win, so if it's something that I think is important, I'm going to say it, even if I'm, maybe off track or somebody will correct me. But it's just something over time that I've seen great players do. So I was like, I might as well do it too.
Hey, Mark, Joel Lorenzi with the Oklahoma. Indy won every quarter but the fourth. That's the first time you've won a fourth quarter all series. What did you feel through the course of the game, and then what changed in the fourth for you guys?
Yeah, I just thought we showed great will in the game. I thought, we really hung in there in the third. I thought that was the key to the game because they really had the wind at their back. We had some deflating plays. It was an easy game to give up on, but we kept it within striking distance, 8-10. and then we're able to close in the fourth. I thought Lou, in particular, just set an unbelievable tone defensively in the fourth quarter. That was kind of contagious, but his energy, and he was just on it, and was very impressive. Got great performances from a lot of guys, but I thought he really kind of swung the game with his approach when he went back in the game.
First row on the right.
Mark, down 4 with a few minutes left. Kind of felt like your season was on the line there. What did you see from Shai to get you home?
Yeah, I mean, he's unreal, obviously. Really closed that thing offensively. He and Dub, did a great job there. Just execution-wise, the shot making, he was outstanding. But I just thought the whole team, that was an uphill game against a great team. I mean, this is one of the best teams in the league in the last couple months since All-Star break. And they're a hard team to beat here. They're a hard team to beat, period, obviously. So I just thought we gutted it out on a night where we really didn't have a lot going, especially offensively.
Second row, middle, Barry.
Yeah, Barry Trammell, Tulsa World. Mark, going on what you just said, just how hard it looked like everything was hard, even when you're producing points or even stopping them. Just looked like they were getting better shots. Just looked like the whole night was just hard.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they're a great team. There's again one of the best teams since All-Star break. They've been on an incredible run in these playoffs. They play with unbelievable confidence. They play with unbelievable competitiveness. And I just thought they were super physical on the perimeter again tonight with their pressure and made the game very difficult on us. I thought we were able to tap into that in the fourth quarter, especially on the defensive end.
Second row on the left.
Daniel Belbia. So the last couple minutes of the game, their offense didn't really get much going. What did you see from you guys to kind of take them out of most of their actions down the stretch?
Yeah, really good execution, made them earn everything. Just like competitive will, I just thought we showed great will tonight. Lou, Chet, Caruso was huge, obviously. K-Rich gave us huge minutes. Dub, all those guys on the defensive end especially. I thought we really made them earn everything. Came up with the ball, executed on offense.
Fourth row on the right.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports, back here, Coach. Along the lines on that defensive end, Chet down the stretch, continually in those switches, working on their guards. How confident are you when he draws one of those assignments? And what did you see from him tonight when he held up out there?
Yeah, he held up great. It's, we don't do that a ton with him because he's just so impactful at the rim. But he can really switch. And it's funny, when he was coming out of the draft, that was one of the things that they really recognized with him, is that he's very switchable. He's got great feet. And we just found ourselves behind the ball in a lot of plays tonight, and the switching was able to get that under control late. But we can't do that unless he can do that, and he was outstanding tonight.
Second row all the way to left.
Yeah, Anthony Snyder with The Athletic. You mentioned in your previous Shai answer that you felt him and Jalen really executed offensively down the stretch. I mean, he did score 15 in your final 16. Are you talking about getting the switches you wanted? And I guess how specifically would you say they executed really well?
Just, getting us to good spots, getting us into offense against pressure, and just they just played that two-man game for the majority of the stretch. And Jalen did a great job of getting us organized there, getting the ball to him, and he obviously delivered big time.
All the way in the back on the left, Candace.
Mark, Candace Buckner, Washington Post. There were a crap ton of free throws throughout the game. Do you think, besides your defense, that also played a little bit of a factor in kind of throwing off the rhythm for a team that depends on pace as much as the Pacers do?
Well, there were a crap ton of fouls. That's why there were a crap ton of free throws. I thought the refs did a good job tonight. Both teams shot a lot of free throws. It was physical. I don't know. I thought, that was what the game was, but it's a physical game, on both ends of the floor for both teams.
Third row here on the right.
Rohan Nadkarni, NBC News. You mentioned in the third quarter it felt like they really had the wind at their back. I think at one point they went up 10. You have a very young team. This felt like probably the biggest moment a lot of them had been in. How impressed were you that they kind of didn't let go of the rope in that situation?
I'm always impressed by our team. Great poise, great confidence, great connection. The communication on the bench I thought was outstanding. Most of the guys that weren't playing, I thought were like Jay Will, had an unbelievable voice tonight in a lot of those huddles. When you're on the road like that, it's just you. That's your unit. And those guys did a great job staying in it because that was a hard game, and a hard game for us. We just could not get a lot going for a lot of especially the third. and just to hang in there. It kind of showed who we are. I didn't think it was anything different from what we've been, but we definitely showed who we were in that situation.
First row all the way to the left.
Mark, all season long, you guys have prioritized the paint to be kind of recession-proof. What did you see in terms of just the resolve and the game plan commitment that your guys had, even when shots were going in for them and weren't for you, particularly in the first half?
Yeah, I thought we kind of manufactured that win, with the defense down the stretch, certainly, but, paint defense, second chance points. We were 3 for 17 from 3, but got to the paint ourselves and, like I said, just kind of scraped together enough to win the game. And you got to be able to win games like that. It's not always going to be pretty, especially in the playoffs against a great team on the road.
First row right here, Jenny.
Hey, Mark, Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. You mentioned Alex in passing, but he scores 20 and hits 7 of 9 shots. I mean, in addition to all the defense, what about his game tonight maybe helped not only young guys in a tough situation, but just the tangibles that he brought tonight?
No, he's a competitive monster, clearly, and he's proven that time and again over his career, certainly in these playoffs. But he was huge tonight, offensively, even early in the game. But yeah, both ends help on ball. He's just, I can't say enough about him as a competitor.
Ramona, third row.
Mark, Ramona Shelburne, ESPN. What's Shai's demeanor like at the end of games like that? Especially towards when it was really tight and he went on that 5-point flourish and stuff in the huddles.
Same demeanor as always. You really wouldn't know whether he's up 3, down 3, up 30, down 30. Eating dinner on a Wednesday. He's pretty much the same guy. So it's unbelievable. He really didn't have it going. A lot of the night he was laboring. We had a hard time shaking him free. And for him to be able to flip the switch like that and get the rhythm he got is, just speaks to how great of a player he is. And again, it's nothing we don't know, but he definitely showed who he is tonight.
What do you attribute that to? Why is he always just so unflappable?
That's him. You'd ask him. He's just got a great temperament. He's always been like that, as long as he's been here. We've lost 40-point games, and worse, and he's been the same guy. He's just got an unbelievable command over himself. And I think his poise and his confidence is contagious among the team and has been for the 5 years. And I think Dort, I mentioned Dort, his physicality, his fearlessness, competitiveness, those two guys over the last 5 years, that's what they provided us, and that's what they gave us tonight. They were huge.
Right here in the middle.
Joseph Pavone, Clutch Points. Coach, I was going to ask you about, who said anything in the huddle that was significant. You answered it with Jay Will. So I'll pivot to this. For people who haven't been necessarily following this team closely, just speak to what SGA, like you said, the two-man game between SGA and Jalen Williams and how huge they were and how, what they do in that fourth quarter and late game execution, what you've seen all season long, and to do it on the biggest stage and arguably the biggest games of their careers. How incredible is that hearing?
Yeah, I just thought, we've really slammed the door on games for a lot of the season. We've done a really good job, and in games 1 and 3, we didn't do a great job of it. And I just thought that was kind of our best rhythm of the night, is the stretch, and those guys had a lot to do with it. And so we got to get better now. That's a really good team that has really found some solutions against us. So as we go home, we have to evaluate things on both ends of the floor. But in the meantime, that was just like a great blood and guts win.
Second row, Barry. Right behind you.
Yeah, Mark. You went back to the big lineup and didn't get off to a very good start. What made you went back to it twice more in the game? What did you like about it, even when things didn't go well early?
That lineup has very distinct strengths, and you can draw on it at different times. It was a point to get Hart more minutes tonight. I thought he's been helpful in his minutes. But in terms of the lineup, we go into every game trying to figure out the formula to win that game, and that's what we thought was best to win Game 4 tonight.